Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Public Ivy panel of the Transfer Student Panel Series hosted by College Leap. This is our first event of 2021, and we're really excited to kick it off with two outstanding transfer students who will share their insights on the transfer process and beyond. I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Alexa, and I'm the chapter president of College Leap at Irvine Valley College. I've lived and studied in Germany, Poland, and Ukraine, but moved to California several years ago, and I'm currently pursuing accounting and finance. So before we get started, I'd like to tell you more about who we are here at College Leap and what we do. So College Leap is a UC Berkeley nonprofit, and it was founded to support international students and community college students at large in their transfer journeys. Among the initiatives that College Leap focuses on are interviews and panels with transfer alumni, just like the one we have here today, as well as various mentorship, internship, and volunteering opportunities for students to take advantage of. TSPS stands for Transfer Student Panel Series, and it's an online webinar series held to bridge the information gap between community college students and four-year institutions. You can find out more about this series and other College Leap events on our website, collegeleap.cc. I'll drop it in the chat just in case. Check out the TSPS section under the resources tab to stay up to date with future sessions just like this. Here you can find past recordings and summaries of TSPS panels. So I promise you there will be a lot of really interesting transfer student stories for you to read. If you're interested in starting or joining your own local community college chapter of College Leap, you can also go ahead and apply through our website. Additionally, I'd like to add one final disclaimer. The information shared on these events and panels only represent panelists' personal opinions and should not be solely depended on to make any decision. So College Leap is not in any way responsible for the information shared during these panels, and you should really always consult your college counselors before making any drastic changes to your schedule or your goals. So today's panelists will share their experiences at their current universities, their insights into the transfer process, and general advice that they've acquired during their journeys as college students. At the end of the session, you will have the opportunity to ask the panelists your own questions through the chat or just by unmuting yourself, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. So with that said, let's jump right in. I will let our panelists introduce themselves and kick off this Public Ivy TSPS session. So Alex, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Alex Napari. I'm a fourth year at the University of Virginia. I transferred from Northern Virginia Community College. And before that, I was a Marine in Camp Pendleton, California, for 4 years. I was born and raised mostly in Virginia. I did spend a few years in Bolivia. And yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. Ala, I'll have you go next.
Yep. Hello, everyone. This is Ella Shaheen, and I am a transfer student from Oakland Community College. I transferred to University of Michigan, and I'm currently a junior pursuing my Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with a minor in entrepreneurship. I am originally from Syria, and I moved to the United States in 2017, and I start from there.
Awesome. So we have quite a diverse group here. Bolivia, Australia as well in there, and Syria. So that's awesome. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and start with our questions here. So a lot of community college students, when they first enter community college, have this big question: which major do I choose? We even have a separate program at College Leap called Majornator, which is supposed to help students choose a major and find a program that really interests them. So I'll go ahead and start with Ala. So what was your first encounter with programming and coding, and why were you drawn to computer science?
Awesome. So first, I would say that I started early when I was like young. I was the tech, girl in our family, and always, like people come to me with their questions about their laptops, their phones, and stuff. So I assumed that like this is what I want to do. So back in high school, I took two classes that's offered in the summer actually between after you graduate from high school into your university. And they were talking about computer science. One of them, it was like web developer, HTML, CSS. So I was like, you know what, let me just take it and look at it. Let me just, see how that works. And I actually took it, and we built a very good projects, and I was like surprised by the amount of information I learned in that class, and I was like, well, this is what I want to do. So I started from there, and then I moved to the United States, and I was like, also I want to just complete that, because during my transition to the United States, I took online classes at Coursera, Udemy, and other online platform, and I found it very interesting that just the way that they provide more courses about computer science, it's amazing. And I was like, this is the field that everyone is like looking for in the right now in this century. So and this is how I started, and then I went to Oakland Community College. I started taking some CS classes, and then now I'm pursuing my bachelor in science, in computer science.
Awesome. That's actually a really great point that there's a lot of free classes that students can take just to kind of test the waters if they don't want to commit, to taking units at a university, especially with computer science, right? I mean, there's so many courses out there, Coursera, edX, so there's definitely a lot to choose from, and it's good to dip your toes in for sure, especially for anyone at this point, right? You don't even have to be a
Exactly.
computer science major. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I will, give a lot of advice about that later on today.
Awesome. Sounds
Yeah,
great. All
of
right.
course.
Well, then I'll turn it to Alex. So why did you always gravitate toward business? And were there any life influences that impacted your choice to choose business administration?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't always gravitate toward business. After high school, I wanted to be an architect, actually. But I decided to enlist in the Marine Corps for 4 years. During that time, I had an appreciation for the service I was doing for the country and my community. And so I wanted to continue to do that in a way. And so I wanted to be a nurse. I started taking like the general ed classes. And I remember going to a training for, I think it was some like combat medic training, something like very basic. And I didn't like it. Uh, so I was like, okay, so medicine is not for me. And I just kind of fell into business. Like, as in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll get an associate's in business administration. Um, and then hopefully I'll find out if I want to do that. And I ended up liking the courses. I found that business is a good way to develop communities, and just overall help society be a little bit better. Um, and so, yeah, that's kind of how I fell into business. What was the second half of your question? Sorry.
If there were any life influences, but I think you kind of answered that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, especially when it comes to business, it's broader. So if you have a separate passion, you can always connect it to creating your own business, right? Like I think it's a really great jumping off point. For me personally, I was also in that same. I think a lot of community college students are kind of in that, like, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with the rest of my life, which is valid when you're 18 years old, or even when you're older. It's a tough decision to make. So I think it's really awesome how you kind of ended up there, and at the end of the day, they say that business people, they are problem solvers. So at the end of the day, it's about making the world a better, more efficient place. So that's awesome. All right, so I'll move on to the next question. So we have quite a few first-year community college students in our audience. So what do you think first-year community college students can do right now to set themselves up for successfully transferring next year? I'll pass this off to Ala.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would say that first of all, believe in yourself. This is the most important thing that I could seriously give for transfer students at the community college. And then second, I would say that make sure you stand out by either taking an internship, being active in the community college at the community college. Also, try to support your applications. Like to support your application with online courses that you take, especially right now. Like everything is online, right? And then we have a lot of online courses that as I mentioned previously, that you could basically take for free, either Coursera, edX, and also some of the community college actually have like a partnership with these like online platform, so you could take advantage of that. And then basically supporting your application with these certificates that shows that you are interested in this specific topic, and this is actually shows that you are a life learner, that you're always willing to learn more. This is one two things that I would seriously encourage everyone at the community college to do right now. Also, the last thing I could say is networking. Seriously, networking helps me a lot, you guys, with all of my opportunities that I'm right now at. It's networking, so please try to network more, get to know each other, be open, be friendly, go up there, and just talk to people. Don't be shy. Seriously, at the beginning when I started at community college, I was so shy. I was like, no, I just want to go to classes and come back home and stuff. And then I realized, no, this is not the thing. This is not the right way to do it. There is no right way to do it actually, but there is a way that you could basically, as you said, like stand out by letting others know that you are here and you are willing to learn, to take advantage of opportunity and resources at the community college.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, that's a great point. You said that a lot of colleges have partnerships with different learning platforms. My college, for example, and I think a lot of our colleges do, have a kind of like a partnership with LinkedIn Learning.
There
So
you
if
go.
you
Yeah.
have, yeah, so you can put that on your LinkedIn profile and have something tangible there to show for yourself, to show that, hey, I'm an agile learner. So that's really awesome. And then as well, as professors, there's office hours, which in community college, the classes are so much smaller, so you can actually connect and talk to your professor. So yeah, that's a really great
Yeah.
tip to start networking early, for sure.
Very early.
So
And as you said, sorry, as you said also, like especially with the professor, you guys, especially at the community college, because as you said, like it's a very small classes, you could just go there, communicate with them, just go to the professor and say, hey, like this is Allah, and I would like to get to know you. What are you working at, or what are classes that you're taking, like you're teaching, sorry. So you could basically take these classes with them and build your connection with them, so they could be references for you into your common application, or the application that you are filling out to apply to a university.
yeah, exactly. And hey, they might even offer you an internship, you
Oh
never
yeah,
know.
oh yeah, here
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
It's true.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll ask Alex the same question then. What would you do if you could go, to your first year at community college? What were some opportunities that you would take advantage of and recommend others to do so as well?
Well, I think you guys both really hit the nail on the head. But I'll lean in a little harder on the getting engaged within your community. I think that's really what most helped me in my application to UVA is uh, I was really involved in the veteran community in the community college. And I was trying to kind of advocate for changes, or like just bringing just general awareness that there are veterans within the community that have specific needs. um, and then through those lessons that I've learned in my time in community college, I wrote in my application that, hey, I learned these things. I know that UVA has a veteran community as well, and I want to help build that community at UVA. So I think it's important during your time in community college to start gaining those soft skills that you can really take with you to a 4-year institution. And then I'll also talk about networking too. That is something I did not do at all during my time in community college, and I wish I had. Build relationships with your professors because they honestly want to. Like it's not like high school. Like some professors are just or some teachers are just, you know, there to teach you and then they walk away. Some of them care, but then professors are there to actually, help guide you through your learning. And then it's up to you to really take the initiative to get up and ask questions or go to office hours. And I'll tell you, at four-year institutions, people struggle to do that. Mostly because the professor has like 1,000 students per semester, and it's not like it's intimidating to go to a professor in a classroom of 200 students. So start developing those skills now, and it'll take you far. Um,
Yeah.
that's I'll leave it there.
Definitely. No, when it comes to professors, right, at universities, their main priority is research, and students often come second anyway. So that's a great point. A lot of community college professors are business professionals, and they're directly involved in their field. So they might have a really great network, and you're just not tapping into it, right? So yeah, that's definitely a great tip there. And in terms of building your community, you're directly showing UVA on your application. Here's how I'll fit in at UVA. Here's what I'm bringing to the table, right? So it's really awesome that through building your community at community college, you can also show exactly what UVA could get from you in a way, right? But also you learn soft skills, leadership skills along the way. So that's really great advice. Okay, so I'll jump on to the next one, which is which courses did you find most valuable, either for transferring or for developing your as an individual? So for this one, it's kind of obvious if you're a comp sci major, you're going to say take those comp sci classes, but because there's quite a lot
Yeah.
and math classes. But besides those major required classes, what are some courses that you think really helped you develop that you maybe wouldn't have taken otherwise? So I'll actually go ahead and start with Alex for this one.
Yeah, so the class that helped me the most in my transition from the military was definitely a communications class. That was the first class I took like over the summer when I was in community college, and it it really just teaches you like those basic communication skills that you need to be successful in life. Period. Like
Mhm.
public speaking, like setting up presentations, like talking in a way that people can follow, right? Like not just like just going off the rails and just speaking your mind. It it helped me also be sensitive to other people's, I guess, perceptions, right? Because perception is reality at the end of the day. Like you could mean to say one thing, but the other person interprets it another way. And that's so an easy way to burn bridges, destroy relationships. And as a Marine that had that like suck it up attitude and mentality, it was definitely a class that I needed. Another class or classes, I guess I'd say, is like humanities classes, like literature classes, anything that wasn't my major, like for example, like sciences, like biology, like they appreciate those classes because they just teach you to appreciate life, honestly, and enjoying like reading a book of something that has nothing to do with your major, that has nothing to do with computer science or business. It helps you kind of relax later on in life and appreciate the little things. I would encourage you to just get out there and try different things, try different classes if you have the bandwidth.
Mhm. That's a great point because a lot of community college students, they will take their general education classes in community college, and then once they transfer out, it's just major classes. So that's kind of really your only opportunity to get to touch upon like humanities and sciences, just as you said, right? And later on, you might not get the opportunity. It'll just be like finance, like valuation classes, and that's it. So yeah, that's definitely a great point. And communications is really important, especially because a lot of universities require it. But definitely also great for you just for interviews, right? For any just life situations, it's a great class to take. So Allah, I'll pass it off to you.
Awesome, thank you. So basically, first of all, I would say that community colleges offers, I believe most of them, they offer like a classes for 1 credit or two. That is basically based on what Alex also said. It's like a communication class, but also they offer classes to basically teach you these soft skills. Actually, my community college, they teach, how to build your LinkedIn profile, how to build your resume, how to basically time management, also, either events or courses. So I would say that take advantage of those, because the earliest you can start building your LinkedIn profile, your resume, the more stand out, you could say, you will be, because basically this, like, will help you before you get into the university. And you basically at the university, you don't seriously have the time to do all of these stuff. So start early. When you start early at the university, it's going to be just like an edit stuff, like edit little, like edits to your resume or LinkedIn profile. So this is first. Second, I would say that, as you said, you guys take not only humanity classes, also you could take, like any kind of classes. I took, for example, like music class, film class. Those seriously were super, like, I was like, wow, do they offer them? And I was like shocked, to be honest. And I really learned a lot. So for example, like I love piano, and I was like, you know what, I want to take like a music class, just to see like how pianos works, or how to basically read notes. And I took a class, like a music class on reading notes. And to be honest with you, I took an A, and I was like, wow, this is a good class then. So as you said, you guys try different stuff. Try to take these classes early, so you basically can know what major are you gonna major in. So because based on like just transferring from, I mean, I don't want to say transferring, basically the transition from high school to Oakland Community College, or sorry, to community college, basically you don't really know what to major in, right? So take advantage of that at the first year of your community college, and to try these many and diverse classes. So these are the
Awesome.
classes that I would highly recommend to take.
Yeah. And I would also add to that, throw in an English and a math class as early as you can, because you're going to
Yeah,
need those to transfer.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you don't know what to take those basic classes, right? And kick them out. And then obviously general education classes for sure. I mean, it's awesome that you can have your major classes that you really need to focus on, but then have a film class, right? So it's kind of like a break a little bit, right? So yeah,
exactly.
definitely a great tip.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I'll move on to the actual transferring section. So what do you think when it comes to transfer applications really set you apart as a candidate for your university? And also, what would you consider your greatest strengths that really shone through your application? So I'll go ahead and start with Alex again.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of the community work I did with the veterans at my school really shone through. And then I just emphasized like my desire to bring that community to UVA. And when I got here, I kind of realized that the community was lacking. So there was a lot of work to do, and I found other veterans, and we did a lot of work to improve the awareness of veterans at UVA. And our community is thriving now, despite the pandemic. So that was one thing that helped me really shine through. Another thing I would say is just the leadership experience I had, right? Having that military background really, I think, set me apart from the other like non-traditional students. But that's not to say that just because you weren't in the military, you can't set yourself apart. I've met like my peers that transferred with me. they've had like amazing internship opportunities. Like I'm talking Microsoft, I'm talking like Cisco, different companies like that. Like, and it's all because they reached out to these companies when they're in community college. Community colleges have programs and connections with these large institutions that look great on a resume. Um, and so I think, yeah, the combination of my work experience and the work I was doing within the community like set me apart.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah. And that's actually a really good point that you brought up, that even if your community college may not have connections to those big companies, right, for internships, then you have to go out there and get them yourself. So through LinkedIn, a lot of these systems, when it comes to reviewing applicants for internships, they filter out community college students. And so students just end up thinking, well, okay, what do I do at this point? So if you can get through to those DMs, those LinkedIn messages directly, that can actually help a lot for getting internships, because it's not too hard. If they remember your name and they like you, a lot of the time they will choose you for something, or they will find something for you. So that's definitely awesome. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Ala as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexia. So basically, I could say that the one thing I think, or two actually things, that first of all, the classes that I took at the community college, that as you mentioned, the math classes I took actually up to calculus 2, which our major like required computer science, required a lot of math classes. So I took up like all my math classes. I started early up to calculus 2. I think this is one thing. And also I finished also my two of my English courses, English composition 1 and 2. Other thing that I did is that making sure most of my classes are transferable. Make sure that you take the classes that you really like, make sure they transfer to the university that you're looking for. So with by actually talking to your advisor and telling them that this is the university that I'm looking for to transfer, will these classes be, like, transferred to there. And another thing is that, like, try to make your like, try to boost your GPA by, like, taking different classes. As I said, like film class, music class, those also help your GPA like to get higher a little bit. So, and the most important thing that I would mention is that I am a math supplemental instructor, which is basically helped me a lot in my in my application. So I talked about it actually during my application process, and I told them that how much it means to me to be a math supplemental instructor. So take the advantage of that. Like, I seriously, the story of me being a math supplemental instructor, it was very interesting. And to be honest with you, I was taking a regular math class, doing my homeworks, assignments, and stuff. And then one day, my professor came to me and he was like, "Ella, I want you to be my SI." And I was like, "What's SI?" Like, I never heard of that. What's that? So he explained to me, and he was like, I really think you are a really good fit for this position, and I would, like, really appreciate if you would help me with that classes. And I was like, wow, this is such a great opportunity. And of course, like, I took it, and I has been with them since 2018 till this point. So I highly recommend, just be out there, do the stuff that you think that's like makes you really stand out, and write those in your application, in your resume, LinkedIn profile, and believe me, you will be just great.
Yeah, and that's a great point about looking for those teaching assistant positions, right? Sometimes professors offer them up. Sometimes you got to ask yourself. But that's a really great way to stand out and also have work on the side, because a lot of these positions are paid. So that's a really great point. Also, the student, it's called Student Success Center for us, but usually it's like a assistance center, tutoring center, something like that. So if you can find work there, that's also an awesome way to not just bulk up your application, but also like cement the material in your own head. So yeah, that's a great tip. So I want to go ahead and reflect a little bit on the transfer application process.
Mhm.
Since you guys have both been through it, what do you think would have been one thing that would have made it a lot easier for you? So maybe it's starting earlier, right? Maybe it's just getting more of those ideas in your head, maybe having more people review your essays. So what would be that one thing? So I'll go ahead and let Alex start with this one.
Yeah, so obviously starting earlier is better, right? But one thing I would say, like in addition to that, is start journaling. Start keeping record of experiences and lessons you've learned, whether it's through work, whether it's through your involvements in your school, whether it's in your classes itself, or just life. Start recording that somewhere, um, because I think if I had journaled before I had like started the application process, I would have been able to go back and said like, oh, look at this lesson, look at like my development in last summer. This is what I was thinking about. And here I am now, like accomplishing whatever I wanted to do that past summer. What was that path like? And then that's something to talk about in your application, right? Or if there's like, you know, an aspiration you had, I wanted to be a financial advisor when I applied. Um, what made me want to be a financial advisor? That's something that I could go back and kind of, you know, look into myself, look into a journal, um, and kind of get those details out instead of having to think for like hours about what to write in your essay, right? Um, so that's the little bit of advice I would give. I know a lot of community colleges have writing centers, and so take advantage of those resources and go there, get feedback, get as much feedback as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really good tip. I wish I had it before I wrote my applications, because that's a really good point. You forget so much, right? In the moment, you may have learned something really important, but looking back, it all kind of starts to blend in. So that's a really great tip. And also, you can connect it to your essay. So let's say being a financial advisor, maybe you really like helping people, right? Like maybe people who are not very financially literate, right? And that's your way of connecting, you know, that to your aspirations. So you could find that in your journal and then be able to connect the dots a little bit more than trying to think of a new topic from, you know, from just the top of your head. So that's awesome. I'm actually gonna start doing that just for my like LinkedIn profile. But yeah, that's a really great way to kind of document your own educational and career journey. That's awesome. So Ala, do you want to share one thing that you, looking back, wish you would have done that would have made it a lot easier for you?
Of course. So the one thing that I wish I had made like earlier, it was like also starting early, and also the one thing that I wish I did is setting a deadline for myself. So let's say that your application is due in 2 months. I would say that's at the beginning of like 2 months earlier, basically get started as Alex said, that's like keep record and pull out those journals or like the paper that you wrote, and ideas, and to seriously start writing. Don't think about it, seriously, just go ahead, open your laptop and start writing. This way actually helps me a lot when I'm writing my essays right now at the university. Start writing early, and then to be honest with you, set deadlines. So like in a week I will write, for example, 100 words. It doesn't have to be like the best 100 words you would write, but basically write 100 words, and then go back the next week, start writing another 100 words. So now you have 200 words. Go back to the first 100 word and reverse it. So basically go and check back, like which words would like be a synonym for another word. What could I change this sentence to be, like a better fit for this paragraph. So I would do that for the like the first 2 months, and then the last months, just as you said, you guys go to the support, like the writing support center or the writing center, talk also to your professors and ask them if, if they can also review your application. If you have relatives at the university, also ask them to do so. This is what I did, and it helps me a lot actually during my application.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, that's really good advice, especially the review process. You don't want to be writing in that last couple of days. Well, it happens sometimes, but you really want it to be, a
Exactly.
thorough review, even by your friends.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And oh yeah, go
Alexa,
ahead,
I'm
Alex.
sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, that just reminded me. Reach out to people at the university, right? If you have friends that go there, definitely, you know, send them a message on LinkedIn, text message, whatever, and ask them to review your essays. I had a friend do that, and he got into the same school I did. So it's awesome, and it makes me feel good that I was able to help in some way get him into the same university that he had talked to me before about wanting to go. So definitely shoot a message to people that go to the university you're applying to. Sorry,
Definitely.
Alexa.
Oh, that's a great point. I mean, I was just doing that with my friends this year. So it's definitely a good tip. And also another one I just wanted to throw in there is use voice memos. So for me, I like talking more than writing, as you can clearly see. Um, so for me, it was way easier to sit down with someone and for them to ask me the question of the prompt and just record me. So then when I was writing, I actually had sort of an outline already in my head of what I would have wanted to say. And that way it kind of gives you a head start. And of course, setting those deadlines for yourself throughout so it doesn't feel like you're just cramming at the end is definitely really important. So Ala, Alex, both great tips.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. So now I'll jump into university life because I'm sure everybody's curious about what the transition is like and how you're enjoying your universities. So I'll start with the question of why did you choose your university? So what really guided your decision? Was it the program, student life, etc.? I'll let Ala take this one off.
Thank you, Alexa. All right, sure. So as I told you guys, and I mentioned previously that I'm from Syria, and then I moved to the United States in 2017. So I started the at the community college, and I finished 2 years, graduated with 2 associate, and then I was like, all right, what then? I started early, applying to universities. We have here in Michigan like multiple great universities actually. So I applied to all of them, like most of them seriously. I get my common application and I send it out to everyone. But the one university I really wanted is the University of Michigan, just because before I transferred, I went to multiple, like events they did for transfer students as well as for, like just university students. And I felt that, wow, this is the place that I really want to be in because there's a lot of opportunities that I can take advantage of. That was my reason. That's like, this is the university that I really want to go to. The amount of resources, the amount of opportunities, research opportunities they do here, it's just amazing. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want to do in my life, is taking advantage of being at the university before I go to the, like work life and stuff. So being at the university and taking advantage of these opportunities, making networks, getting to know people, and basically getting an internship work. I felt that this is the place what basically will give me all of these opportunities, and this is why I choose it. I did not choose it for just because it's called the University of Michigan, even though it's the best university here at our state, but also besides that, I was looking for the opportunities and resources.
That's a great point. You don't, I think when you're a freshman or when you're in high school applying, you can kind of get starry eyed and just think about the name of the university. But once
Exactly.
you're a transfer student, you're hardened a little
It's
bit, like, the
different. Yeah,
reality.
it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of, not look at it very hazy-eyed and really hone in on the program and what you want to do. So I have a similar example here where UCLA is an awesome school and it was always my dream school. I had like the little flag of it throughout my childhood, but then I start to take a look at their program and I'm like, well, shoot, this is not what I want to be doing, you know?
Thank
Um,
you.
and then I'm like, okay, well, there's some local schools that might not have that name, right? But they have such a stronger program and still have that same alumni network, research opportunities. So you start to pivot a little bit for sure. So yeah, Alex, I'll go ahead and ask you this question as well. So why did you choose U of A?
Yeah, so for me, it was a little different. I had set this path in my mind after I got out of the Marine Corps of I'm gonna finish community college. I'm gonna go through a guaranteed admission to George Mason University. I'm gonna graduate in 3 years' time. I'm just gonna be done with school, and then I'm gonna move on with my life. And if you have that attitude, kudos to you. I would ask you to, reflect a little, and be a little open-minded. And that's honestly how I ended up at UVA. I ran into another Marine veteran, and he was like, "Hey, like, I'm applying to this school. You should check it out. Especially if you're doing business, UVA is ranked number 2 or number 3 in the country. They have a great program. Open your horizons a little, right?" Um, and I looked into the program. McIntyre has this thing called the case method, which essentially is a group, like a class discussion. And you learn business through talking through situations. It's actually like, it's amazing. And when I came to visit UVA and I got the walkthrough and I talked to the admissions office and they told me all about this program, I was like, I fell in love. I was like, oh man, put me in here. This is the school I want to go to. The way they teach you here is just amazing. They had so many different clubs that you could be a part of, and I was like, sign me up. This is nothing like George Mason University, at least from what I had experienced up until that point. And so after that, I kind of fell in love with UVA and just fingers crossed applied, and was admitted. So yeah, I'm very happy I'm here.
Wow. Yeah. And again, it's all about opening your horizons, right? When we're younger, we tend to kind of be taught that we have to have this focus on one school, that dream school mentality. But at the end of the day, right, you might be missing something right under your nose. And especially attending events that are being held, even though it's Zoom, there's still online events going on for those schools. And you can kind of feel the culture of that university, right? And then you can see the clubs if there's something that aligns with your interests. And also take a look at that program because it can really change your mind, right? Like the case method, for example, that's not offered at other schools, right? Or it may be taught differently or more monotonously. So you can kind of start to understand what you really value in your education and then find something that aligns with that. So that's awesome. Actually, you're putting it on my radar for sure now. So, because that sounds like a really great way to teach business. So that's awesome. Okay, so I'll go on to the next question, which is imagine that it's your first week back at your university. So, what resources would you advise students to take advantage of right away? So, where would you head first? So, I'll let Ala take this one away.
Awesome, thank you. The first week of the first week of my first semester at the University of Michigan was overwhelmed. It was just a lot to take on, and it was like at the same time, it wasn't an overwhelming in a positive way because I felt that like as I mentioned, I felt that like this is where I want to be because there's a lot of resources and opportunities, and I was like this is my time to take advantage of everything. So I went to festivals, and I went to sorry, what's called centers at the university, like transfer center, for example. We have a transfer center there, who basically a partnership with different clubs at the university. Those are like only for transfer students. So I took advantage of those. I went there. I asked a lot of questions. I asked about, where I can find the writing center, where I can find the, like opportunity center or the career fair center. Like these centers that's basically are, like at the university, that's not everyone can basically easily navigate them. So I was looking for those specific centers at the university, and I was asking a lot of questions. I was like, this is my time. I don't want to be shy anymore. This is the time to ask questions and be there. So I went the first week of my, the first week of the semester at the University of Michigan. I remember that I had a bunch of like flyers. Each day I will come back to my room and I look over them and search for opportunities and resources and read about the centers that I collected their flyers from the career, from the festivals or on their tables, before COVID. So yeah, I was remembering, it was like my best, seriously, my best days at the University of Michigan. So yeah, I highly recommend doing, like writing. It's basically navigate these resources, especially at the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of your, being at the university that you choose.
Yeah, that's a great tip there, because community college is so much smaller. So it's way easier to find those resources, right? It's usually all on one page on that same website.
Exactly.
Right. But then you get into university and everything's kind of scattered, right? Some opportunities might not be accessible if you don't join that club, right? So that's a really good tip. And also finding your home base, maybe a club, maybe an organization that you have a stable network in. So for a lot of transfer students, it's going to be the transfer center.
Mhm.
So that's one place I would definitely advise people to flock to, especially in that first week, and kind of get to know your peers. But yeah,
Exactly. It was my
Alex.
home actually,
Okay.
like the transfer student, it was my home. Like every single day I go there. Because seriously right now, like I have a lot of transfer students that I know. Like we are such a great community. And this is what I felt like, to be honest, like at the University of Michigan, this is what I was looking for. It's feeling that's like you basically like you have a community there. You're not alone, because at the university, like at community colleges, you feel that, oh yeah, I can navigate those stuff, resources, opportunities, classes, know about the website, how to register and stuff. But at the university, you just feel that there's a huge amount of people over at the university, especially in Ann Arbor. Like it's just like a diverse like university. And I felt that's, oh my gosh, there is a lot of things going on and I don't know. And how can I basically be there? So I went to the transfer center, and then basically that was my home, and everyone there, just willing to help you with your, like transition and stuff. So yeah.
Definitely. And it bonds you too, you're all sharing this experience. So it's way easier, right, to kind of connect with those people.
Yeah.
And they tend to be a little bit more mature too, and they
Mhm.
have really interesting stories. So yeah, Transfer Center is the place for sure. All right, Alex, I'll let you talk a little bit about your experience and what you would say is the first steps you would take.
I was really lucky. UVA has this great like 1 week transitioning program for like incoming transfer students that are business students. So it's only like, I want to say 25 of us per year that like transfer into the business school. And we essentially all get to know each other really well over this 1 week program, where we get like little primers for like quantitative analysis. We get little statistic primers. We get communication primers, everything to catch us up to speed at like the caliber at which UVA operates. And so academically, I wouldn't say I like I wouldn't change anything. The only thing I would say is don't try to get involved in everything, because the school is so big. You cannot be involved in everything that you're interested in. You have to learn how to manage, like prioritize your interests, if that makes sense. Because it's so easy to become overwhelmed. And so I would say take it slow, if anything, but also uh, just get to know people. Like that's the most important thing. Like that's the whole reason you get involved in organizations. That's the whole reason you get into clubs, is to meet people with like-minded interests, essentially. And so just meet people through your classes, through organizations that you know for a fact you'll spend time in and that it's worth it. Um, another thing I would do is go to the career center that first week, because in business at least, the recruiting cycle is like 13 months in advance. Um, so that can become a little overwhelming, especially when you transfer into a four-year institution. So um, definitely take their advice and have like resumes ready, have your LinkedIn ready as soon as possible, because the recruiting cycles at four-year institutions, like they just pick up like the snap of the finger, 0 to 100. So yeah, that would be my, if I could go back, those would be the things that I would change.
Oh yeah, I mean, for transfer students, they kind of struggle because the recruiting cycle starts in September, October, a lot of the time, right? And so they have to jump right in. And there's these guys who have already been there for 2 years and
Yeah,
know how the internship game is, right? So you have to kind of learn the rules and everything really quickly.
yeah.
So it's a really, really good tip to start with your
Especially,
LinkedIn profile, yeah,
yeah,
and getting
especially
everything
if you're
together.
interested in finance jobs like private equity or investment banking. Like those jobs start recruiting in August and July. Like they have postings in May for jobs that don't start until the following August or the following July. So definitely, that's just the one thing that I always regret, is not knowing that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, it clearly hasn't taken away from
No,
you
no,
know,
yeah, of course not. Yeah.
yeah, but definitely start early with that. You
Mhm.
know, and I mean, a lot of kids try and get internships in their sophomore year too. So you need to make sure you realize, right, who you're competing with as well, and kind of get everything started right away.
and
So
and
yeah.
what helps with that is, connecting with students that are already there and
Mhm.
asking every single question you can think of. No question is dumb, especially when you're transferring into a university, because you haven't experienced it. And especially for first gen students, like I was, like I was fortunate enough to have someone that I could ask questions to, um, but I didn't have like all the questions, right? And that's why that one situation happened to me.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's why we always ask that question. What would you do first? You know, because you jump right in and you're like, okay, I'll stick with classes, right? But then it starts to pick up. So yeah, it's really important.
Can I
Transfer
share
center.
a story also?
Oh yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I transferred winter 2020 to the University of Michigan, and I get my first internship in June of 2020. So that was seriously, and I was like, no way I will get in an internship. And I actually started, I transferred January, started February looking for internship, as I told you, like I was looking for opportunities. And then I remember one lady, she looked at me and was like saying, yeah, hey, I'm applying to this, internship and stuff. And she looked at me in a way that's, I don't think you will get in. And I was like, why? And she just sounds like that. It's my second month at the University of Michigan. I am just new. There's a lot of computer science students, like looking for this internship and applying for this internship. And I was like, I know, but I can't try, as I also, that happened to me with the University of Michigan. Also, a lot of people told me that you will not get in. I was like, let me just try. So I applied to, actually, to, as I told you, to multiple universities, since I get accepted from all of them, but I choose University of Michigan. So, and then I was like, let me do the same thing with my internship. So I applied, and also because of COVID, we couldn't do it in person. So I was actually talking to the co-founder of the company, and I was like emailing him and calling him and saying that this is Allah Shaheen and I'm interested in this internship. I'm looking for an internship. I have these skills and I would like to hear back from you. I was seriously sending an email every 2 weeks to the co-founder and telling him that, like, I'm really interested in this. And then finally, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna interview get an interview for you. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So it was my first online interview. I did it over Zoom, a first time using Zoom. And then it took actually, it was for 20 minutes, but we went over time for 40 minutes. And to be honest with you, I get the internship right away after my internship. He was like, I'm offering you the position. I was like, no way, you're not. Are you? And he was like, yes. I really think that you are a great fit for this internship. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm doing it. And it was like for 6 weeks. It was about my related to my major, and I was just, like, seriously, I'm so grateful that I took that chance to basically apply, even though I think that it was my second month at the University of Michigan. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. If I did not get it, that's totally fine. I can try different stuff, joining clubs and stuff, and I did. But also I applied and I get in and I finished it, and it was one of the amazing things that I did in 2020.
Wow. Yeah, that's just I'm just thinking about that story of you emailing consistently,
Yeah.
and getting in front of that person, because I think that's so important where it's not just a resume, right? They know
Yeah,
exactly who you are. And I think a lot of community college students should take advantage of this even before you transfer, because that's how you'll set yourself apart, right? By getting in front of that person. And usually it, it tends to be that you kind of get an internship at a smaller company if you're working at if you're at a community college, but
mhm,
that's totally fine because you can directly talk to the founder, right, of the organization, and start building your connections that way. So that's really awesome. And
thank
yeah,
you.
they probably say, don't, maybe they doubted you because you were applying late because you were in winter,
Yeah,
right? But
that's very true. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but again, it's like if you have an awesome personality and skills to back that up, like they're not going to pass on you. So
Thank you.
that's awesome.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
Wait, I
yeah.
just want to like add this one thing. Um, Sending cold emails and then getting on your first phone call with some people, it is very intimidating, and I understand that. Like we are talking about like, yeah, like just get on a phone call, talk to them, but then like you get on a phone call and you're just like, what am I supposed to talk about? Um,
Hmm.
so there's a lot of resources out there to kind of guide you through how to network on a phone call. But there's this one book that I picked up. It's called Never Eat Alone. Definitely recommend you guys pick that book up. And it gives you skills for a lifetime. Like, because networking again is like so important in my particular like business. It's very important, right? But then also in other careers, if you want to do research, like you have to be able to reach out to your colleagues in other institutions and be able to build relationships with them without sounding like you just want things from them. It's always a give and take. And so Never Eat Alone, definitely recommend you guys read it. And that'll help you start uh, networking.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something one of my professors did, called networking lunches. So he would tweet every single time he was holding a networking lunch, and he's had over 1,000. So he just, every time he updates and he talks about the speaker, so he puts in their LinkedIn handle and what they talked about. So what a lot of students have started doing is they will take that thing that they talked about and they will message if they have like a common interest there, and they know exactly who to talk to. So, sometimes you need to see what your professors are doing, what's their network, right? And when it comes to cold emails, cold calls, yeah, it's it's really stressful. You kind of hit the nail on the head. Like we say, it's all this rosy picture where you call and you get it, and it's great. But usually it's hundreds of attempts, right, for that one yes. So
Exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to mention that, when I was emailing him and sending, like calling him, seriously, I remember one day I called him and I was like, yeah, this is Allah Shaheen. And, I said what I have to say. And he was like, oh, all right, I will call you later. And he never did, and I was like, you know what? It's okay. I know maybe he's busy. Maybe he's, like doing other stuff. So let me call him back. So after 2 weeks, I called him and I was like, hey, remember me? I called you 2 weeks ago, and I started. And then he was like, you know what? I really wanna interview you. So and we did that. So
Yeah.
yeah, never think that's if they say no once, that's me. It's a no. Try again and keep going and keep trying, and seriously just believe in yourself, and if you know that there's something in this company you want to get, go for it.
Yeah. That's a great message for us to end the main portion of the panel on.
Yep.
So I want to open it up to the audience to ask their questions. And yeah, everyone, you can either drop them in the chat or you can go ahead and unmute yourselves and ask Alex and Ala. All right. Mhm. Let's see. I'll actually ask a question in the meantime. What do you feel like community college helped you in those interviews to show the experience you had, and in what ways was that? So, Alex or Ala, whichever one of you wants to answer.
I'm just trying to think. I don't remember, honestly. Like everything's so integrated, right? Like everything I've learned in the past 3 years has kind of been integrated. Ala, can you think
Yeah,
of
of
one?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I can share. So as I told you, I am a math supplemental instructor. So when I was applying to this specific internship, it was about teaching high school students how to build their own websites using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and etc. So I bring that my experience from my community college to this internship. I was at the University of Michigan, and I am a peer mentor for Transfer Connection at the University of Michigan, and I am a students advisory team ambassador and many stuff, but I was focusing on the teaching part of my experience. So I went back to the Oakland Community College that I went to, and then I mentioned my experience as a SI, and that actually stood out because this is what they're looking for. They're looking for a teacher, or basically to someone who can basically teach the students and pass their knowledge to others, and this is what they were looking for. And this is when I bring my community college, and I was like, yep, I got that experience from there.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because transfer students, you may only be in community college for 2 years, but once you come out of it, you can already pretty much by default be a mentor to other
Of
transfer
course.
students. So
Yes.
you're already getting that teaching skill in one way or another, right? And then obviously more tangibly through being a supplemental instructor. So that's a really good point. I mean, even in your second year as a transfer student, I feel like you can already mentor
Oh
first year
yeah,
students. So
definitely.
yeah, that's a really
And especially because you have the experience, right? Like I am a mentor for transfer students because I have that experience. I experienced, like transferring from one institution to another. So I have that experience. I went through it. I struggled, and I don't want others to struggle. So that's why I became a mentor. And as I told you, I was at transfer center. So when I talk to them, we go back to networking. So when I talk to them, I show them that like I'm passionate about helping others, and I am here to basically let others not struggle the way that I struggle and make their transition easier. And this is when I applied to be a mentor at the university.
yeah, awesome. Now you're getting to channel all of your advice and knowledge, to transfer
Thank
students.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually have another question here. So, we have someone who's a high school junior. So, props to you for starting early. And they're planning to go to community college. So they're wondering if there's anything they can do to prepare for community college. Yeah, I know. It's you have to think back quite a bit.
Yes. I would say take math classes for CS or for any other, any other majors required like math, right? Either like up to calculus one or college algebra. So take advantage of your high school and focus on those, because when you are going to the community college, most of community college has a math placement test. So when you take these placement tests, you basically can pass a lot of math classes, and like you basically get into the one that you only need, which is like college algebra or calculus. So I highly recommend focusing on your math and your English as well. So you're like math and English, and then basically when you go to community college, there's placement tests you can pass, and just go up to the class that you really want to do.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I would
mhm.
say also take take a CLEP exam. If you know another language, definitely take advantage of the
Yeah.
CLEP.
Yeah.
If you like, if you think you know a lot about history, take a history CLEP. Don't spend your money on tuition when you don't have to. That would be my advice.
I
Yeah.
would add actually to that. My first language is actually Arabic. So when I went to the University of Michigan, they required us in one of the like programs that I have to take 4 semester like language for 4 semester, and you could choose that language, like either Spanish, French, a lot of other languages, and I was like, all right, but I do have another language. I already have another language, which is Arabic. Can I take a placement test? They said yes. So I took a placement test, and I don't have to take any other language class. So if you are an international student, please take advantage of that as well, and tell them, like, don't be shy. They actually assigned me to take a Spanish class, and I was like, wait a minute, I already have a different language. Why don't I have to, as Alex said, pay tuition for that class? So I went back, and then I told them I have to take the placement test. I took it and I passed it, and I don't have to take any other language class.
Yeah. And also, if you can get some kind of certificate that you learned a different language that you can
Mm.
use. For example, I was learning German in the summer back in Ukraine, and then I went to Berlin. So I was able to have a certificate with a certain number of units. And so I was able to pretty much convert that and get rid of that requirement altogether. Same thing with like placement tests. Actually, I know they're doing something different in California where they're pretty
Mhm.
much going to place you automatically into like a first level calculus
Mhm.
class, which can be rough if a student, let's say, needs algebra, right, or pre-calc.
True.
Um, but that's what they're doing right now. But for international students, still, I would say go in there and ask for those placement exams. Because for me, they were asking for high school grades, which would cost thousands of dollars to translate. So if you can just take those placement tests, you'll be good to go, and alleviate the pain of doing that. Okay, so I have another question here. Maya is asking, this one is for Allah. So I know you're an immigrant and you come from Syria. So what were some of your challenges as an immigrant coming into community college, and how did you overcome them?
Awesome. This is a great question, actually. So when I studied at that community college, sorry, I struggled first of all with language. English is my second language, and I started actually learning English back in 2017. I had no idea what's English about, how to like speak a full sentence. So this is one of the like challenges that I faced, and I worked so hard on it to the point that I'm here. And then the other thing that I struggle with is because I am from a different country, so the teaching style is different. The system is different, like at the community college or at the high school. It's totally different. I know there is also like different system from high school to community college, but it was a totally different system because of I'm from a different country. So I struggle with that as well. I struggled also with communication. I was, such a shy woman, and I couldn't, like speak to others, especially because of my language and because I was seriously a shy person. And then it was like a struggle for me. And then I realized that if I will be just be shy and like don't like ask questions, and basically like being shy of my language as well will never get me to where I want to be. So I was, even though I was making mistakes, I was like very shy. I was sometimes like seriously go back and cry because I couldn't like ask the right question or something. But I was knowing that because of these mistakes, because of these opportunities that I was taking advantage of, I will be where I want to be. And yeah, once I get that job at the at my community college, and then like I transferred to University of Michigan, I was like, you know what, I am so grateful to myself that I did that back in 2017 and 18, because this is where I am right now. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And the fact that you pushed yourself to get out into that environment, it can be really intimidating, especially when it comes with the accent, right? You're still
Mhm.
learning sentence structure. I mean, I remember back in like fourth grade when I first came here,
Yep.
I only spoke Ukrainian and Russian and
There
maybe
you
knew the
go.
words like cat and dog and hello. Um,
There you go.
so, and I
Yep.
came into my class and nobody else spoke Russian or Ukrainian.
Mhm.
If they did know a second language, it wasn't one of those languages. So you were pretty much left with no other option than speak English. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just putting yourself into those environments where there is no other option, to kind of revert back to your comfort zone. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what really makes you learn very fast, for
Very
sure.
true. Very
Yeah.
true.
All right, so we have a question here for Ala again. So this is particularly pertaining to STEM fields and computer science.
Mhm.
So have you ever felt like you were a minority in a male-dominated field? And did it really impact your community college experience or experience at your university?
Awesome. This is another great question as well. Now, like, I don't feel that way, but back when I started, I felt a little bit that it's like a lot of, like boys in our classes, and there's no like girls that much. But I believe that when I felt that way, I felt that, like I'm just out of the community or out of the group. And I was just assuming that, like boys knows a lot of, like information and we don't. And I was like, you know what, I know this is like, I was taking it slowly, and I was like, you know what, I know this is true, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. So I want to basically work on myself to be either like them or the way that I want to be. So I mentioned that at the beginning of our panel that I took a lot of online courses. So I went to Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, YouTube videos, and I learned about like C++, Java, JavaScript, how to basically GitHub as well. How to do Git commits. Those is stuff where I was assuming that everyone knows them and I'm the only one who did not. So I was, you know what, let me do those so I basically can be, in the same level as they are. So I did that. And to be honest, it turns out that they don't know everything and they don't know the stuff that you imagine they know. Seriously. And I was like, you guys don't know this? And I was like, yeah, we don't. We're just learning, yeah, like you. And I was like, yeah, this is very true. We assume that they know everything, not only boys but also other girls, maybe like very super, like intelligent with computer science stuff. We assume that they already know and we are super behind, but don't feel that way because they are also learning. So you are guys learning, more information in one of aspect they don't know about it. For example, like I know a lot of like HTML, CSS, and web development overall of design. They don't know about this stuff. They know about C++, Java, and vice versa. So just get there. Try to basically also believe in yourself. Don't be that person that's, oh yeah, I am left out and I will be left out. No, push yourself, get there, learn, and like try to get more information from YouTube, Coursera. Ask your professors. And as a transfer students, you guys, please, they always mention that at the universities, that we always felt that we are left out, and especially when we are, because we came as a sophomore. For example, freshmen at the university, they already know everything about the university. They know the system they're using, what software they're using, so they're already familiar with that. So when I entered, I felt that, oh wow, I don't know any of these, so I felt left out, right? But as a transfer student, I took advantage branch of office hours, I went to the professors and I asked them, like, hey, I'm a trans person. I know that a lot of other students, they already know all of this information, but I'm here and I would like to learn, and please, I would like you to help me with that. And this is how I basically get into the field and become who I am right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and you mentioned a really good point of kind of catching up on your own by taking advantage of those courses. So
Mhm.
I wanted to transition to Alex and ask you, what are some courses you've taken online or maybe at your college that really helped you, that you kind of ventured out to get and you're really happy you have?
I just want to make sure I understand. So at a UVA or at community college? Because
Uh,
I've done both.
Okay, so either at those two institutions or
Yeah.
maybe online, like a Coursera course that you really liked, something that kind of tapped into something that maybe your classmates didn't know and you were able to pick up.
Yeah. So I don't really take online courses. I'm gonna be honest, like I've been running on all cylinders academically up until this past fall. And what I mean by that is like more than 15 credits every semester since I started community college. And yeah, so I haven't taken any Coursera online courses. Um, but as far as like courses outside of like my major that I've taken I just got done with a Buddhist meditation course that essentially breaks down the history and then the practices of Tibetan Buddhism. Um, and you get to practice the actual meditations themselves. And then before that, I took uh, this class called Dracula. It's a signature class of UVA. You learn it all about the origins of Dracula and like the development of Dracula. So Dracula is actually a culmination of many religions and many beliefs. And so that course essentially explores that. I think it started in Slavic countries, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so I have a particular interest in understanding the origins of other cultures. And so through those two courses, like I've gotten to know a lot about, history and then also Buddhism and Slavic culture, which is amazing, right? And it has absolutely nothing to do with business. And I think it honestly helps develop my model of the world in a better way, right? It helps me understand, other people of other cultures, right? I lived in Bolivia. Like I understand the difference between Bolivian culture and US culture. And I've always been curious about like Europe and other countries. And so online classes are an easy way to explore those different kinds of things. And I just take advantage of those.
Wow, that's not something an ordinary business major takes, but
Yeah, definitely
yeah,
not. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. A Dracula course being your rite of passage at UVA, that's really interesting. Wow. But yeah, it's really cool that you're still able to develop those interests while taking your major courses at UVA, so it doesn't feel like you're just overloaded. I know a lot of programs tend to kind of be super intense, so you go in and as a transfer student, you have to start firing in all cylinders. So it's great that you had a little bit of freedom to explore. Yeah, definitely. Also, didn't you take a course in Kenya?
I
I
did.
saw that on your LinkedIn
I
profile. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that totally just slipped my mind. I took conservation finance in Kenya, and essentially what we were exploring were impact bonds, which is like this new form of security, which essentially is designed to help encourage like environmental development with private money instead of using government funds, which almost all across the board is done, right? Unless it's philanthropy. And so, yeah, So that was a fun 10-day course. I could tell you guys all sorts of stories. So hit me up afterwards if you guys want to hear more about that. But UVA has a whole bunch of opportunities to travel abroad if we weren't in a pandemic. If we weren't in a pandemic, this spring I would be going to Israel to learn about entrepreneurship. But unfortunately, COVID happened. So
Yeah, but still, the
yeah,
fact that you got that opportunity in the first place, to, first off, you're still learning material that's pertinent to your major, and allows you to kind of broaden that scope a bit. And doing that in a different country, I mean, that's an amazing opportunity there. So hopefully, with vaccines coming soon, those opportunities will be renewed.
yeah.
But yeah, okay, there's one more question here because I don't want to hold you guys too long. But this is more about the workload and the pacing between community colleges and universities. So how would you say the regular unit classes that you take at community college compare to regular university classes? Do you feel like you have to put in considerably more time and effort? And has it made you adapt your, let's say, habits to cater to those courses? I'll let Alex start.
Yeah, so I'll say it is 100% different. You definitely have to try a lot harder in a four-year institution than you do in a community college. And I'll say that it's because in four-year institutions, people are just a lot more serious academically. They just care more about the work that they turn in, and then that ultimately leads to more competitive grading as compared to community college. Also, when you transfer, you're also taking more advanced courses, so that also contributes to the higher workload. For example, like for me, my first semester, I literally lived inside my building, the business building at UVA, McIntyre, and it's just what everyone's used to. Like everyone around me was there reading up until like 11 o'clock, preparing for the discussions of the next day. And that's like understood to be the norm as compared to community college. I remember having time to, watch my nephews, watch a little bit of TV while taking 16 credits in community college. There was no way I would be able to handle that and, get good grades at UVA. So definitely need to be aware of that. I think just the awareness that that's going to happen helps a lot. And then, be aware that there's going to be a transition period for, whether it be the first semester, whether it be the first 2 months, like don't be too hard on yourself. I think I was very hard on myself. So just take it easy and, allow yourself to transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, giving yourself a little bit of time as well, right, to get used to it. Because I'm sure the pacing is very different too, right? How quickly the material is being dished out to you. Yeah. But do you feel like the transition itself, how long do you think it took you to feel like you were kind of at home at UVA?
I would say it took me up until probably the last few weeks, because I had made it through, right? I had made it through the worst part of the semester, because if I was there done with the people that already had gone to UVA, like I made it, right? Like
Yeah.
I belong here is essentially what I told myself. And yeah, I remember, oh my gosh, you're giving me PTSD. Like I would have to read like 200 pages a night, like the first 2 weeks
Oh
just
my
for
gosh.
discussions. Trust me, I didn't read it all. Like I learned how to skim. Those 2 weeks, I learned how to skim better than I had ever skimmed ever before in my life. But like just take it day by day, take it assignment by assignment. and you'll be fine. Ask for help too if you need it.
Yeah, and prioritize, right? As you
Yeah.
said, with clubs and organizations, you have that time in community college and really take advantage of it. Because when academics start in four-year universities, that tends to be your sole focus, at least for that first couple of semesters. So yeah, wow, that's quite the experience. 200
Yeah.
pages of skimming.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. But it's awesome that you were able to adjust and kind of feel at home, because that's something that transfer students talk a lot about, right? Is that imposter syndrome when you first get in, and then adjusting to feel like you really belong there. So it's awesome that that happened for you. I'm actually interested, Ala, what has the process been like for you?
Yeah, of course. Actually, well said, Alex. And seriously, I can't agree more. And to be honest with you, and in this point, I don't want to say the same thing over. I want to actually give advice on that, based on what Alex also said, because we all know that the work world will be much harder at the university, at any university. So I would say that, as we mentioned, me and Alex also, when you were like at community college, try to learn these soft skills, especially time management. I learned, to be honest with you, I learned how to manage my time very effectively while I was in community college, because I was working and studying at the same time. As I mentioned, I am a math SI, as well as I was teaching actually like 3 to 4 classes and taking 4 classes. So it was seriously a lot. So at that point, I learned how to manage my time. I use my Google Calendar, use any tool that will help you like to write your to-do list, and try to write everything that you have on your Google Calendar, or like or even on your wall, like just look at it week by week. This is how the way that I see it, but you could choose like day by day, month by month, whatever. But basically, like, try to look what you have ahead of time. So if you have a deadline for an assignment, like, try to start like a week before, or like at least 4 to 5 days before your due date. So this is what I advise you guys to take. Another advice I would say is that don't try to take all of your hard classes at once. Like, I tried at my community college as well as my university to take light class and hard class. So I would manage between, if I am deciding to take 4 classes, for example, 2 light class, 2 hard class. This is when you balance between these classes, but all of your classes are required, right? Like, you have to take these classes anyways, either at your first semester at university or last semester. You have to take those classes. So try to take, for example, like English class or writing class, and another, like CS class or business or whatever your major is. So don't try to take all major class and keep all of your other classes till the end of your senior year, because seriously, you will get to the point that's, oh wow, this is just too much and I can't handle it. So this is the two advice I would really encourage everyone to do, based on like the workload you will have at the university.
Awesome. All right. Well, on that note, we're right at 8 p.m. So awesome, you guys. We are very punctual here today. But I will go ahead and say the closing remarks here. And Ala, I see that Alex already put down his LinkedIn handle. If
Yep,
you want to, you can go ahead and do that as well.
of course.
I'll also go ahead and put in the College Leap website, just in case people are interested in seeing more of these kinds of panels. So there's the link. And all right, on that note, I would like to thank you all for sticking around till the very end. I really hope you enjoyed the panel today and took away a lot of valuable insights about the transfer process, and clearly beyond that transfer process and what it's like at the university. Also, to the two of our panelists, I'm really grateful that you came out here today and shared all your tips and answered all of our questions. So on that note, I want to say good evening, everyone, and I hope to see you at future College Leap events. So thank you very much, guys. You are
Thank
free to
you.
go. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.